Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Claw and the King podcast. I am joined by my great friend and co-host, Oscar. How are you today, my friend?
I'm doing very well.
You're doing fantastic.
How are you going?
I'm good. I'm good. Obviously, a lot happening in the sport world, which is the main thing. All we care about, really, is just the sport. And the odd, Instagram reel or TikTok that's got Jose Mourinho in it. That's good. But anyway, do you want to kick us off with a sport or anything that's happened in your life that you want to chat about? I mean, you can chat about your life. I mean, I'm sure the listeners would love to know.
My life is quite boring. I feel like I need a prompt to get me going. If we're going to talk about my life, like I'll need something to spark.
Right. So it's off the cuff for you. It's not like you don't like talking about it. It's got to be in a comedic
No, I don't want to. I don't
sense.
want to say this is what I did yesterday.
Okay. That's up to you. I mean,
Do you want to say that?
No, not really.
Yeah.
I just thought you would. But anyway, that's fine. What sport do you want to kick us off with?
We can kick off with basketball.
The
NBA. Obviously, I don't know how long it's been since we last filmed. Maybe 3 weeks, 2 weeks.
It's been,
I don't know,
the usual.
Shit's obviously happened in between then. I guess the thing we can start with is the All-Star starters were announced. Mm-hmm. Were there any surprises for you? I don't think there were many surprises.
No, I think the main sort of issue that I've heard over social media is just like people getting pissed about LaMelo not being a starter, which is or not at least getting more consideration for it. I think he had barely any votes from the media to get a starting nod, and he's having a great year, but Charlotte are horrendous, so it's kind of and I think it's tough. I think who would he supplant in that starting lineup? Maybe a Brunson. But Brunson's playing well on a winning team. Are they third in the East? So it's tough for him to kind of just supplant a winning player, and that's what the media value. And obviously LaMelo has got a lot less help than Jalen Brunson, but Jalen Brunson's having a great year as well. So I didn't have any sort of problems with the list. The main thing that stood out for me was just when it hits you that LeBron's been, was it 21?
21, yep.
Straight in a row.
Starting.
That's just crazy, because who else has had a 21-year professional career in basketball?
I think it's single digits. The amount of people that have.
And watching him, and I know this is a bit off topic, but watching him dunk the other day, it's like Vince Carter was and I just immediately thought of how Vince Carter was the GOAT of dunking. Everyone was like, oh my God, he's the best dunker of all time. When he was LeBron's age, he could fucking barely dunk. He was just, anytime he would do a rim grazer, it would be a fucking standing ovation.
I mean, we saw Dirk Nowitzki out there at 40 years of age.
Well, he's a bit different. He wasn't really a jumper.
Not in terms of athleticism, but I mean, just he couldn't even run in a straight line.
Yeah.
He was out there falling over his own feet. So, yeah, what LeBron is doing is incredible.
It's just, he's the greatest athlete, pure athleticism in the history of sport. And I don't think that's close. And people that say, oh, maybe you go Ronaldo or you go a different sport, or you can do a Federer, I don't know what you do, or a Phelps or whatever. In terms of pure athleticism, nobody is performing like this at age, 41? 40? No one's doing that. Who does that?
No one does that, which is why he's incredible. He needs to be applauded. Anyone that hates on LeBron, I just don't want to speak to you or be friends with you, because it's just it's delusion at this point.
Yeah.
Well,
I reckon we do a full All-Star sort of breakdown once the reserves have been announced, and we can sort of discuss snubs and stuff like that. Do you have anyone that you're kind of hoping gets in, or you think might be sort of a sneaky sort of first timer maybe, or
Well, I mean, I think Cade is. Most people are saying he's going to get in. Yeah. Obviously, this will be his first All-Star. I did predict this start of the season. I said Cade will be an All-Star.
You can't keep you can't just keep rolling back oh, you're a magician at predictions.
Well,
when you said Dalton Knecht would be Rookie of the Year,
no,
Anthony Davis would win MVP.
I think we all threw our hands up in the air and said, who's going to be MVP? I mean, Rookie of the Year. Throw a dart at the board.
You thought Anthony Davis was going to be DPOY and MVP?
Yeah, and it looked like he was going to be for the first week.
Right. That was a bold prediction. Anyway.
But, reality hits. Anyway, back to... and it hurts. So
anyway, what is... sort of your thing about Cade? Do you reckon he'll sort of sneak in?
Well, I think he's a lock.
You think he's a lock for it?
What is he? He's averaging like 25, 7, and 7 on a team that's in the playoffs at the moment. A Detroit team that hasn't made the playoffs in 6 years.
Yeah. I agree. I think Cade's definitely an option. I think a lot was sort of made of his turnovers early in his career, and he sort of was turning the ball over a lot, and Detroit was obviously not winning. But he was clearly a generational prospect when they drafted him. And it's good to see that he's, kind of made that step this year, and hopefully he'll be an all-star. For me, it's a bit personal. I think Norman Powell should get in. He has been unreal for a Clippers team that everyone thought was probably not going to win this amount of games that they've won already for the whole year. They thought that team's washed. Kawhi's out for the first half of the year. There's no chance. They brought in Derek Jones Jr. and Chris Dunn to replace Paul George. There's just zero chance. And what's happened is they've turned into this defensively unbelievably, like the best defense in the league, with Norman Powell being a second option and basically replacing Paul George. Like mirrored. Like Paul George is a better creator probably than Norman Powell, and he's a better, like, he can probably get in the passing lanes a lot better than Norman Powell can. But in terms of the scoring output, there is no difference.
Yeah.
In fact, I'd argue that Norman Powell's better because the efficiency is way better.
Yeah, and an interesting stat is Norman Powell is actually averaging more points than Steph Curry at the moment.
It's crazy how good. Like, and I think everyone, if you've been watching the NBA for a bit, has seen his sort of scoring potential. At Toronto, he was kind of used as a six-man role for a while, or like a sort of a third guy, a third option. Same with the Clippers when he came here, was kind of viewed as like an offensive weapon rather than like a main guy. But he's grown into the role. And look, James Harden's probably still the number one guy that they view in that building when Kawhi is not playing or when Kawhi wasn't playing. But Norman Powell has just turned into this absolute monster and being the main scoring force. I mean, James Harden has bad days efficiency-wise, especially shooting the ball.
Often.
And Norman Powell's always there to sort of pick up the reins. And
I think the issue for Norman is the Clippers. I think they'll only get one All-Star if they do get one, and it would be, is it James Harden or Norman Powell? James Harden, usually the more experienced perennial All-Star guys usually get the favorable selection. I feel like over a potential first timer,
which is harsh. I think that's very harsh. I think LeBron, as much as we sort of harped on about him being, 20 in a row or 21 in a row, and him being a starter for basically all of that, it's the main part of that, of him being a starter, at least for that whole time, is him being as popular as he is. And we talked about a couple of weeks ago.
But he's also deserved it every single time.
Yeah, but we also talked about sort of Kevin Durant leading the NBA votes as well, because he's just popular, because he's a big name. I think, big names do attract it, so I can understand if James Harden gets it over Norman Powell, because that's kind of how the All-Star game works. It's not just who's putting up the best stats and who's putting up the best efficiency. It's, are you doing that whilst being a big name, and people have to vote for you? So it's a bit different on that sort of a wavelength, but in terms of deserving, I don't think there's a guy that's been more deserving, and I think he's probably a front runner for Most Improved Player of the Year as well. Yeah, I would 100% give it to him.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a few people have him, few people haven't. There's just so many options in the West. There's probably 10 guards.
Yeah, that's the problem.
That could get in.
If he was in the East, I think he would be a shoo-in, but it's just how it is.
Yeah. Another thing with the All-Star game, I don't know if you know how this works, but there's three teams that come from the All-Star pool, and then one Rising Stars team, right? But there's 10 starters. So who is starting?
Mate, I have given up what the hell the NBA is trying to do to try and make this game competitive. I have no idea. I'm just going to watch it and I'm just going to try and watch it, and hopefully they'll explain it to me on the day and how it works. Yeah. I have zero clue what the format is.
So there's going to be 5 reserves who are starting.
Yeah. I have no idea what's going on. I'm just going to... I think the whole concept of starters and reserves is a bit silly anyway, but as long as,
I think it makes sense if it's a normal basketball game.
Yeah, but it's not, though. That's the problem. The players have never treated it like a normal basketball game, or even... I mean, God forbid they treat it like bigger than a normal regular season game. So, Yeah, there's no chance that it ever gets sort of viewed as a normal basketball game by the players. So why the format should dictate, and so the format should probably dictate a sort of a regular basketball game anyway. So, yeah, I have no idea what's going on. Hopefully, it just sort of works out on the night, but who knows?
Yeah, look, it's highly doubtful. So, All-Star game, yeah, no hype for it, to be honest, but we'll see. Hopefully, we'll be pleasantly surprised.
Hopefully.
Extremely unlikely. In terms of the actual NBA, the Lakers did make a move, I think, since we last spoke. D'Angelo Russell is no longer a Laker. The scrub is gone. So, that's pleasing, I guess. We did only get Dorian Finney-Smith for him, which is
a great move.
A little disappointing.
I think we have talked about this, haven't we? We must have.
I don't know, did we?
We must have. I think we have.
Okay.
Anyway, we'll briefly
Dorian Finney-Smith has been shit since he joined us. Shake Milton's been shit since he joined us.
Well, because they're not good players. I don't know what
you Finney-Smith was good in Dallas.
Was he?
As a 3-and-D guy, yeah. He was
like their weak point. I think he could hit a corner three and he could defend, but he wasn't doing anything else.
No. Also, in other news, though, Jared Vanderbilt, I believe, is making his season debut today.
Great. Another guy that can't shoot. That's
so
fantastic.
But yeah, who cares if you can't shoot, right? Just get those hands in those passing lanes, get those steals for me, baby, and that's all I need.
Yeah, but you need more than that. It's just going to be... Look, you haven't been horrendous this season, and I think that's something to be sort of grateful for, especially in a really tough tough conference. But you're not giving me anything. I mean, I know a lot of Lakers fans were kind of pumped up after that Celtics game, but they went to overtime the previous night against the Clippers. Clearly, we're fucking done mentally. And that Boston team we can sort of talk about and how mentally they're maybe not there at the moment. But they were just completely done. And it was kind of like, well, the Lakers are winning by 20 heading into the fourth. It's like, well, circumstances matter in the NBA, and especially in this climate of the NBA. So I think I don't think it's looking as bright as some Lakers fans think, but I don't think it's as dull as previous years.
Well, yeah, and it's another year in the West where the third and the second seed is probably going to be Houston and Memphis, where that's who you want to be playing. Just every year in the West, it seems like the second and third seeds are basically the two worst teams in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So if you come sixth, that's going to be a positive, really. Although there's three things guaranteed in life: death, taxes, and the Lakers playing the Nuggets in the playoffs. So we'll somehow find a way to draw the Nuggets and get swept in the first round. So fun.
I think the Lakers looked okay, but it's tough to sort of gauge what the West is at the moment, especially from really the Clippers on down. I think probably the top four or the top three are pretty locked in. But yeah, from the Clippers down even to San Antonio, it's a crapshoot. So yeah, it's not really cemented, so it's hard to sort of gauge what to say on their season so far. Is there any other story? We could go into sort of the Boston, and a lot of Boston fans I'm hearing and seeing that they're not too happy with how the Celtics are going at the moment. I think Porzingis is not a great fit. Obviously, he did well in the playoffs for them last year and really added a bit of offense that they needed at times. But he's clearly not fit well in that team. He's in and out with injury a lot. And when he plays, they lose. So it's clearly not a recipe for success. Do you think it's just a bit of fatigue from the previous season, or do you think it's something to worry about long term about the Celtics?
Look, it's probably too small a sample size to say it's worrying signs long term. They obviously played so well last year. They won the championship without even trying, pretty much. So, look, Porzingis, whenever I see him play, I know he doesn't play a lot, but I feel like he hasn't been terrible. He has games where he looks like the second best player on the team, but I mean, does that come down to Joe Mazzulla, why they've been struggling? I mean, I wouldn't be, if they finish as the third seed, for example, I wouldn't be worried about that. I feel like great teams, once they know they're great, it's all about getting through the regular season healthy, having a decent seeding, and then you just attack from there. So I feel like the Celtics are sort of in that mold now. I mean, Tatum and Brown have been to the conference finals, 7 times at this point? Pretty much every year of their career, they know how to do it. But Joe Mazzulla, I guess... he started his first year. I think they lost to Miami in the conference finals, and I think they were massive favourites. I can't remember if they had a lead or something, but they were definitely massive favourites going into that series, and they lost. And everyone was saying, "Oh, Joe Mazzulla's a bit of a fraud. These guys just chuck up threes, and if they miss, they're screwed." Last year, they obviously won very dominantly, but maybe that was, nothing to do with Joe Mazzulla. They have clearly the best team in the league on paper. So maybe Joe Mazzulla's coaching is a bit questionable. I know Celtics fans have grown to love him, especially his media conferences. He's very deadpan when talking to the media, which people love. But I don't know. I feel like he does have a few weaknesses in his coaching when it comes to making adjustments when his go-to game plan isn't working, which involves chucking up a lot of threes. But I don't know. Do you think there's a coaching issue, or it's more a player issue, or?
I don't know. I think it's a bit of fatigue, and I think a lot of teams in the East have gotten better. And I think especially the Cavs are sort of the main team. And they've fallen off. I mean, when I say fallen off, they've lost like 2 games in the past 10 or whatever. But they've fallen off a bit. But the Cavs have improved. Like we were talking about earlier, the Pistons are a team that's improved. It's still nowhere near the West, but the competition is a lot better. Milwaukee are a lot better than they were to start off the year. A lot of teams are kind of sort of improving in that East. So it's maybe a bit of both. I think, look, I don't want to say they fell into it last year, but no other team was competitive. Yeah. It was really just them having an unreal team, and they played great, but it was a rare season where not a top 5 player in the NBA won a championship. And that it's very rare for that to happen. And a lot of people, especially Boston fans, might say that Tatum is a top 5 player, but for me personally, I don't think he is. And I think it was rare in the fact that it was a great team, but there was never really a standout guy that was like, oh my God, he's taken over this team, and he's leading this team to a chip. So that's the interesting part of it. I still think Tatum has flaws in his game and in his leadership, and they've won. You can't hate on them. But I don't think this was ever going to be a dynasty or a situation where they'd be sort of in the finals or in the winning championships 3 out of 5 years or whatever. And look, it's the middle of the season. No, we might be wrong about that, but it doesn't look great for them at the moment. They are faltering a bit, and it's the main sort of thing that Celtics fans are chatting about. Because look, they were dominant last year, even the regular season in the East, and it's a bit weird for them to see the Cavs look a lot better than them.
But would you, if they're playing the Cavs in the playoffs, would you pick Cleveland? I'd probably still pick Boston.
Depends how the rest of the year goes. I think if Cleveland continue to drop games here or there, like they dropped to Philly the other day, and they end with like a 60-22 record or something, I would probably pick Boston. However, if they finish with 67, 68 wins, which is
a lot of wins.
It's a lot of wins, and it would take a lot of winning. But if they finish 65, around that 65 win mark, I'd probably pick them.
Right.
I just think that Cleveland are a really complete team this year. They've got a great coach. They've got unbelievable, just so deep in that team, and they've got a lot of shooting as well. I think people forget they've got a lot of good shooters on that team. I think it'll be a good matchup. And there's a difference in Cleveland this year, personally. You can always see in teams when they've got a bit of fire about them, and they've got a lot of motivation about them. It feels like the Celtics are kind of wandering through the season, whereas the Cavs are really, really pushing, and especially early on, really pushing in the regular season, to sort of dominate teams and dominate the league. Yeah,
but then you can say those Cleveland teams when LeBron was there. I know LeBron is obviously a different kettle of fish when we're talking about going to the playoffs, but you would say a lot of those Cleveland teams were sort of just faltering through the regular season, and then they'd make the finals every year, which I can honestly see this Celtics team doing.
Yeah, I agree. But was there? I know you'd say the Raptors were probably the Cavs of sort of the comparison, and I get that comparison. It's very similar.
Atlanta one year,
or Atlanta that year. But I think LeBron's different. Like I said, Tatum is not a top 5 player in my eyes. LeBron is, obviously. And at that time, well, he's not now, but at that time, he was the best player. So, I think if they had, say if you put Tatum where LeBron was in those Cavs teams, I don't think they get anywhere near it. So
No, probably not.
You've got to sort of look at the context of how great he was, especially in like series against Boston in like 2018 where they were down 3-2. Because that Cavs team wasn't great, like you said, but he would just physically and mentally just was so dominant that he sort of dragged them to the finals. That's a problem with me. I don't see Tatum dragging a team to the finals, which is the difference.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. But he is, I mean, in the East, I guess Giannis, you'd say, could do that over him. But other than that, I mean, he's probably the second best player in the East.
No.
I mean, you can't put Embiid this year.
Well, you're saying better play. I think Embiid's a better player than Tatum.
Not this year.
Yeah, but he's not healthy this year. It's hard to say. I think I'm not a Tatum fan. I'm sorry. He is Paul George to me.
I'm not a Tatum fan either, but I will say this year I've been like, okay, look, fair enough. You're not an all-time great, but you're a very good player.
He is a very good player.
You know.
So is I, and me comparing him to Paul George is not an understatement. Like, I think prime Paul George was unreal.
But I think Tatum
Paul
is on
George
like
Paul George would never single-handedly take a team to the finals.
No.
He's an elite scorer. He's got great defensive traits, but he just doesn't have it. Like, he just doesn't have that killer mentality. And it's hard to say that when he's won. It's really hard to say that. And it makes me seem like an idiot. But it just, from my personal feeling, I just don't see that fire in him to sort of drag a team to the play. And look, everything went perfect for the Celtics last year. A lot of teams around them, like Miami, had injuries that were really sort of kept them from going to the finals in previous years. So they kind of, like I said, walked into that position and strolled into the finals and won it quite easily. This year, it's not going as swimmingly. And I don't think that Tatum has that sort of capability to perform to a level where he can drag a team to the finals like other players like LeBron did in previous years. It's just how I sort of feel about the guy and what he can do.
I mean, it's fair enough, yeah. Like, I definitely wouldn't put him in that elite sort of top line of players, but I feel like their team is just so good that it doesn't even matter. Like, Jaylen Brown, one of the better, if not the best, second options in the league. And then you add Porzingis, Holiday, Derek White. I mean, it's essentially prime Golden State, but
we could all be wrong, and they could click into gear around the 65 game mark and be sweet.
Yeah,
but just from early on, I think, and from gauging from a lot of Celtics fans, that they're also concerned as well. So it's not just me being an idiot. So yeah,
but they're fucking perfectionists. They're
that's the thing. They are
fans.
perfection, but they watch the games week in, week out. They know when something is different with the team. And last year, you didn't hear a peep out of them because basically everything went swimmingly, and this year it's not.
Okay, fair enough. Is there any other topics in the NBA at the moment?
There's nothing really. We obviously chatted about Jimmy Butler last time, I believe. You said he was going to get traded. I said probably not. I just don't think there's an option out there for him. Still hasn't been traded, so
no. And it's I guess it's looking more unlikely. It seems there's only Phoenix really that are pursuing it heavily.
Yeah, there's no option.
They need like 7 teams to get involved to somehow make it happen.
Yeah, it's too complicated. It's just too complicated, and he's not like an elite player that you're just going to go after at this point in his career. And you're going to give up so many future assets for. It's just not happening.
But I mean, surely we can make it happen. If we just give him the 2 picks. Those 2 picks are going to be the death of us. We talk about them every fucking year, these 2 first-round picks.
But is that smart from you? I don't think...
Yeah, we have to maximise LeBron and AD.
So
because we're going to be shit when they're gone, no matter what.
Yeah, but you need a chance to rebuild at that time.
But
I know you don't think about that.
It's going to be years of peril no matter what.
But the thing is like what years are you thinking about? What years are these picks?
I don't know. What are they? 27 and 29 or something?
That's just a killer. That's an absolute fucking killer.
28? I don't know. But
yeah, but because you'll have no one on your team. You'll have no one, and you're just giving your picks away.
Yeah.
It's just not.
In the name of victory.
But you're not going to win, though. I don't think that puts you over the hump. I don't think Jimmy Butler...
I think it's close.
I don't think so. I don't think... Are you beating, Thunder with that? I don't think so.
The Thunder are hard to beat, though. So...
Yeah, but I just don't think... I don't even think you beat the Celtics over with that. I just don't think you beat the proper good teams in the NBA.
Well, I mean, Jimmy Butler's pretty much beaten the Celtics by himself, 3 out of the past 5 years.
Maybe. We'll see. Anyway, moving on.
We can stay in America. The NFL, obviously heating up the last 2 weeks of the season.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
The tomorrow the games are the Bills versus the Chiefs and the Commanders versus the Eagles.
Wow, that was great from you. Great memory.
Yeah.
Massive games. The Chiefs Bills. I can't remember being this excited about a game. It's honestly it is essentially the 2 best teams playing each other in the conference finals. It's a classic, and it's got it's just the storylines. It's just everything is so perfect about that game. We can talk about the Commanders Eagles first because that's the first game that comes up. Interesting.
Jaden Daniels, best rookie ever.
Best rookie ever. I 100% agree. I think I'm a Chargers fan, so I love Justin Herbert. He had a great rookie year and probably had a better regular season than Jaden Daniels. But if you encapsulate the whole year and what he's done in the playoffs as well, there's no way that any rookie year has ever been better. His ability to just turn around and look, ownership change helped the Commanders turn around as well. And obviously front office change and sort of a change across the board really switched the organization over to a successful one. However, his calmness and dynamism at that quarterback position for Washington is just crazy. For his age, it's crazy. And it's not like he's got a bunch of elite receivers, a bunch of elite O-linemen that just help him. He's got one really good one in Scary Terry and Terry McLaurin. But the rest of him, and he's working with Diane Brown and Zacchaeus, and he's not working with elite receivers here. Zach Ertz is about 50 years old, so it's like he's working with old players and not great players at that. So his ability just to be unreal and just be so calm and convert on 4th down. He's like, it's weird. He's just like Lamar, but he's a lot like calmer, it feels. And I'm not saying he's better than Lamar, but in the postseason, it helps to be a lot calmer. And Lamar, obviously, in the postseason failed this year, has failed in every other year prior to this year as well. And it's because he's not as calm, he's a bit more scattery in the playoffs.
But you could argue it was that one guy's fault that they didn't win.
But yeah, Mark Andrews dropped an absolute peach. However, he was crap the first half. I mean, he threw a really bad pick, and then he fumbled the ball, which led to a touchdown for Buffalo as well. He put them in the hole in the first. Now, second half, he was faultless. He was unreal in that second half. In that last drive, he was fantastic. But he killed them the first half, and he put them behind the sticks, and they ultimately end up losing that game. And he's done that in previous years as well. He is like the Chargers when we played him early on in his career, to be fair, but he's lost a lot of times in the playoffs. And, he's kind of deflected blame because other players have screwed up, like last year against the Chiefs. Zay Flowers was the one that sort of fumbled the ball and was an idiot. But they were behind. Like, he's always behind in these situations. He's never in control of a playoff game, and that's the problem with him. He's never... I know this is sort of veered off course a bit, but he's not in control. Whereas in Jaden Daniels' case, he is always in control. And that Detroit game was an absolute drilling. I was shocked. I was beyond shocked.
Detroit were the 1 seed, weren't they?
They were the 1 seed. Now, they had a lot of injuries, but they weren't that bad. Like, he made them look like the most amateur defense of all time. It was crazy. They just never... Like, he never felt like they were not going to score. And yeah, he's just... I think the match with him and the offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury, is a great match as well. He runs like an air raid system, so a lot of passing, a lot of wide movements, which helps Jaden Daniels with the running and getting the ball out quick. I think it's just a match made in heaven with him and the coaching staff. I'm not too sure about this game. The Eagles, Jalen Hurts has looked horrendous, but they've got Saquon, who's looked amazing. They've got an elite running game. They've got an elite offensive line for a running game. It's just going to be a battle of... And it was an all-timer, the regular season matchup between these two as well. So
right,
it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough
one. I think Saquon Barkley's my favourite player.
You think so?
Yeah, he's pretty fucking awesome when he runs. He's
crazy. Yeah, I think people forgot because he was with the Giants and how bad they were, how good he is. I think people were like, he's a good running back. He's not elite. He is unbelievable. He is unbelievable. And played with that offensive line, Jordan Mailata, another Australian guy, who they're just bruisers up front, and they should create these lanes for him. And when he gets to the second level, he's just off. I mean, he had 2 massive runs against the Rams. And he won that game single-handedly against the Rams. So their defense has looked good as well, which is something to look out for. I think Jaden Daniels, who's came up against Tampa and Detroit, both have looked very suspect defensively this year. Eagles is a different story. Eagles started off really rough, but they've sort of grown into the season, and now they're probably one of the, if not one of the most formed defense in the comp.
Right.
So they've looked unreal defensively. Some of the stuff that they're doing, their front seven, their DBs, they're all looking insane. So it's a tough prediction to make. I want to go Commanders. I want to. There's nothing more. I want Jaden Daniels to do it. But I just feel like the Eagles are just going to run the clock out in this game. I just feel like it's going to be one of those games where he just can't get the ball. Because the Washington defense is not great. And I just feel like it's going to be one of those situations where the Eagles hold on to the ball the entire time. And Jaden Daniels is just going to have no time to do what he does. So I'm going Eagles.
Yeah, I'd probably lean towards the Eagles as well in all my knowledge.
Yeah, you went all the I remember wildcard round. You went every single
I think
favorite.
I almost swept the whole week.
No, you didn't. You were horrendous. Yeah. You guessed every favorite.
Yeah, but they all won pretty much.
It's not in the spirit of it.
But yeah, I do think the Eagles, I feel like at some point, surely the rookie year can't win a Super Bowl. I mean, that's impossible. So Eagles have the experience. They've been there, done it.
Yeah.
I think they should win. So
they should.
I'm gonna go with them. I feel like the Commanders, no one expected them to get this far in the first place. So yeah, that's that. We can move on to the much, I guess, more anticipated game, Bills-Chiefs.
Yeah.
Obviously the Chiefs they're going for a three-peat.
First three-peat in NFL history.
Yeah. And Travis Kelce just, went from shit to being good again in the playoffs.
Well, that's what he did. I don't think he was shit. I think he was just kind of on ice. He was just kind of just being held back for the playoffs because he's at that point in his career that, and the Chiefs are that good that it doesn't matter if he just is an average tight end during the regular season as long as he's himself in the playoffs. So, yeah, he was another elite guy last week. So, it's an interesting one. The Chiefs, everyone's saying that, look, obviously, they got really lucky with some calls against the Texans. They did.
The roughing the...
Yeah, roughing the passer. Yeah. They got lucky with a lot of calls, but they still in the fourth quarter would have done what they done. Even if the game was... Look, hypothetically, the Texans probably could have been up 3 or tied the game if it was sort of general in terms of the calls. That probably could have happened going into the fourth quarter. That's not out of the question. But in that fourth quarter, I still think the Chiefs dominate and they win. The fourth quarter performance from the Chiefs was unreal, and they do it every fourth quarter. And that's something to sort of keep an eye out for. Now, the Bills are also a very clutch team. So, Josh Allen... Very unreal player. I think he's the best player in the league.
Is he MVP?
For me, he is. And it's hard. It's really hard that they do it after the postseason. That they announce awards. I think they do it during Super Bowl week, maybe. It's tough. It is. Because he played Lamar and he beat him. And Lamar probably statistically had a better regular season, but I think it would be wrong to not give it to Josh Allen because he won in the playoffs, and that's obviously not in the criteria, and that doesn't count. But it's just a general sentiment that you get when you outduel someone in the biggest moment. You deserve the MVP, especially if Lamar's already won it twice. I think that is a real vote of fatigue that happens in both the NBA and in the NFL as well. if you've won it a lot, it's kind of like, well, you got beat by the guy in the playoffs. The other guy had a great year as well. Carried his team when his team wasn't sort of filled with talent, especially offensively. I think you got to give it to Josh Allen, but that's just my opinion. I wouldn't be upset if Lamar won it. He'd probably deserve it. But anyway, I think this is an interesting game. It's so hard to predict. The Bills have over recent years have smoked the Chiefs during the regular season. Smoked them. But in the playoffs, the Chiefs are 3-0 against them. So it's kind of a tale of two a postseason and a regular season. And it's not like Josh Allen's played bad in any of those games, really. It's just been Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs have found a way to win. And you can't bet against the Chiefs. I have this gut feeling it's going to be Chiefs-Eagles again. But I think it's got to happen sometime, and I think the Chiefs haven't looked great, and I think the Bills have recently. So I'm going to go Bills. Maybe call it wishful thinking, but I think that the Bills have looked unreal. And to be fair, when they beat the Ravens, especially beat them down in that first half, the Ravens have looked untouchable. I mean, absolutely untouchable for the past 10 weeks. And the Bills made them look like idiots, the first half especially. So I think I'm going to go Bills.
Right. I'm going to go Bills as well, purely just because I want to be on the right side of history when someone finally beats the Chiefs. And I want to be able to celebrate with the rest of the world. The Swifties can go packing. Peace can be restored to the universe.
But that's a tough thing, though. It's like Penrith. It's like you want to bet on the team that beat Penrith. Well, they haven't lost yet, so it's a bit tough. And even though they don't play that great sometimes, they just find a way to win because they've been in the big moments so many times. And that's something that doesn't get talked about enough. And people are like, well, why is Patrick Mahomes so good in the fourth quarter and so good in clutch moments? Well, because he has years and years of experience being in the biggest moments. So he's better than players that don't have experience in the biggest moments because their teams don't get that far. So it's tough to really bet against the Chiefs in the fourth quarter, but I'm just wishful thinking it and thinking, look, the Bills looked unreal. Josh Allen is unbelievably clutch and is a massive player as well. The defense hasn't looked bad for the Bills either recently, so I'm going to go Bills.
Yeah, I'm going to go Bills as well. Chiefs have had an amazing run. Obviously, Mahomes is probably, if he wins this year, is he up there with Brady? He's got to be close.
People say that Mahomes is better than Brady already. I think that's tough. I think that's really... Brady was top 2 at least in the league for so long. I mean, he won a Super Bowl at fucking... How old was he? Like 43 or some shit? Like, he was unbelievable for so long. I wouldn't put him above Brady personally because I think the Patriots dynasty was crazy. And the fact that he won it in 2 separate eras and then won in a different era with the Buccaneers, that speaks volumes to me. So I wouldn't put it yet. I think it's kind of a situation. Tom Brady is so far the GOAT in the NFL that you've got to kind of have, when Patrick Mahomes retires, you can have that conversation. I don't think you can have that conversation while he's still playing.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Also, speaking on old people, I've seen Aaron Rodgers maybe retired.
Yeah, well, it might be kind of him having no option but retire. It's like, we're kind of shit this year. The team needs to go in a new direction. Why do we want you? And no other team would really want him either. He's too much of a headache to be, sort of be sought out after. And he's too, he was a headache before, but he was unreal. You can be a headache and be great, and teams will be like, no problem. But if you're a headache and you're not great, then you're not going to be on a team. So I think he probably will retire because no one wants him, essentially. Right. I still think he probably wants to play another year, but I don't think it's realistic.
Was he not that good this year?
Well, no, he wasn't horrendous, but he's just not the same after that injury that he had. The problem that he had this year was he got the ball out so quick, he never allowed players to develop. And in the past, he would just move around, and he had no mobility. That's what he was afraid of. He was afraid of getting hit because he could not move. So he was a sitting duck in the pocket, and he would just get the ball out quick to his running backs or whoever, so quick that he never allows players to develop, and they never could get big plays down the field, and that wouldn't open up. Then in that case, the defense would compress in and would stop all the running game, and Breece Hall didn't have a great year because of that. He kind of was the problem with them when they had a good team. So, yeah. He wasn't great, but he wasn't horrendous. Like, if he was a good locker room guy, he would be on a team next year, 100%. There's too many teams that need a quarterback. The Raiders would get him. There would be a team that would be interested in him. But he's just not the same player.
Is he not? He's not a good locker room guy? I thought he was a nice guy.
No, he's a good locker room guy, but like that's not the right word. Sorry. He has a lot of antics. He does a lot of like weird shit, and he is a bit of a diva. Like he is a bit of a like. It's kind of like Martial for United. Like if he doesn't get the ball, he's sulking. Like it's kind of like that sort of thing. It's kind of he's a good deflector of blame, to put it nicely.
Right.
So, yeah. Look, it's not that he's a cancer in the locker room or anything like that. I just don't think he's not long-term enough. He's not that great anymore, and he has a bit of that diva about him, so it's just not worth it for mainly any teams. And most teams will probably look like a Kirk Cousins direction over him, probably, and that's his problem.
Right.
I'm hungry. But yeah, there are other veteran quarterbacks out there, like a Sam Darnold, like a Kirk Cousins, that would get opportunities before him. So.
Right, okay. Well, there you go. You had a nice career, mate. One of the GOATs.
One of the probably the purest talent from a thrower that you'll ever see. But yeah, and it's sad that his career ended this way, but it was just sort of destined to happen, probably.
Right, there you go. Well, I think anything else in NFL, that's probably...
No, that's it, probably. And yeah, just looking forward to the games tomorrow. Can't wait.
Yeah, keen. We can talk about the other football, the European more based one.
Football.
What's been going on? Obviously nothing good for United. But
no, we're crap. I can't... I mean, I think I've made that introduction every single time for the past 3 months on this podcast. We're crap. Look, we're doing okay in Europe. We're top 4 in the Europa League table, so that's cool. Yeah, we're crap. We cannot do anything. We're getting fucking bummed in the transfer market. Everyone's trying to fucking rip us off. Garnacho's gone, probably.
He's gone.
To Chelsea, which is fucked.
Chelsea?
Yeah.
They're signing another player?
Yeah. Garnacho's probably gone. Mainu's, I think that's cooled down a bit, but I think Mainu was on the block for a bit. It's a joke. I honestly could not care. I do care, but when I'm watching the games, I'm kind of like just a dead. I'm just like, okay, the other team scored. It's so depressing that if you care too much and have too much passion about it, then you'd lose your mind.
Yeah, is Marky Goldbridge still going strong?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a problem with all these fan channels. Like, they do so well when the team's crap. So
right.
Well, no, I think Mark is good. I just think even he's lost a bit of energy, probably. I think he's lost a bit of sort of rhythm, because you've got to be like, it gets to a point where if you're that bad, then everyone just gets depressed. It's funny when the reason why Arsenal Fan TV popped off was because they would get top 4 every year, but and be in a title race, but then drop off, and their entire fans would lose their shit. Like this year, that's what's happening this year. Absolutely losing their shit, and it's peak because you're like,
yeah, and they will, they're calling for managers to go when they're coming fifth or
and
sixth.
they'll lose the round of 16 of the Champions League, and they'll fucking these fucking man. It's funny when you're kind of good, but lose in the biggest moments. That's funny. But when your team is crap, there's just well, what are we going to ban? Everyone is sitting around there admitting that they're crap, but you'll have fans in Arsenal, you'll have a tie, you'll have different fans no, keep the manager, and then you'll have other fans arguing with them, and it's no, you got to sack him, and yeah, it's funny when it's like that, but when the whole fan base is I hate the ownership, I hate these players, this team's crap, there's not really much fun. It's just more depressing. But
yeah, fair enough. In terms of the title race, is there one Liverpool kind of looking the goods?
Liverpool are looking like it. Arsenal are still hanging around, I guess. Is probably the other one, but City, they're winning games over the past couple of weeks, but are they too far behind? Probably at this point. So, yeah, it's tough to really gauge the title race at the moment. It's a bit weird. Everyone's kind of just... The problem is the quality of the league is... Well, it's not a problem, but the league quality is so good. Like, the players within each team, it's crazy. There's no free games unless you're, like, playing a championship club that came up. Like, unless you're playing the bottom three, there is 0 free games. So... It's kind of interesting how great the league is, and it just means that you're not too sure who's winning what, and if anyone's secure. Like, it could well happen that Liverpool lose their next 3 games, and then Arsenal win their next 3, and then Arsenal are in pole position again. Like, the league is such a good quality that no one is safe. So, Liverpool are looking the best right now, and looking like they're probably gunning for it. They're looking great in Europe as well, so it's probably Liverpool, but everyone is so good that it's hard to gauge.
Yeah, I think there's one match day left in Champions League group stage. Is that right?
Yeah.
And I think a City currently in the relegation zone.
I'm not 100. I think it's something like that. I don't know what the format is. I think it's obviously the first year of it, so we'll see what happens with it. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure on the logistics. Well, it's like if there's a drop zone. I don't know. I have no.
It's like the top 6 automatically make the round of 16. And then, like 7 to 16 play each other to get into the round of 16, and then the bottom 8 are just out.
Yeah, I think that's how it is.
I've just made up those numbers, but yeah,
that's
the structure.
No, I genuinely believe that's it. I have no idea if you can drop down to your. I don't think you can this time, but yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, Man United win the Europa League, so we get Champo whilst being the shittest
whilst
team.
Being relegated from the Prem.
That would be funny. That would actually be kind of funny. But yeah, that's sort of vibes around Man United at the moment. Depressing, as always. But yeah, nothing much to talk about in football. Not many transfers happening. There's a couple heating up.
Kyle Walker
going to AC Milan, but he's washed, so it's not really that big of a deal. So, yeah, we'll see. It's probably going to heat up towards the end of January, like it always does.
Right.
So the next couple of days, essentially.
Yeah, there you go. 2 days left. Everyone get ready.
Get pumping.
What's his name? The journalist?
Fabrizio Romano. Great guy.
I hate how popular he is when he can't even speak English.
Why?
Not because of that, but...
He can speak
English. He can speak English, but I mean, like, when he's... he's like the most professional, sought-after journalist in the world, and his sentences don't even make sense on his posts. I'm like, come on, dude.
That's because he speaks multiple languages. It's not.
Yeah, but he's writing it in English.
Yeah, because he's translating it.
Surely you can have someone work out how to properly formulate an English sentence.
It's not the end of the world, mate.
It frustrates me.
Okay, well, that's your frustrating thing of the week. Felt by me.
Yeah. Okay, we can move on. UFC last week. Did you see what happened?
I had a quick look. The Dagestani won again.
Well, one won, one lost.
Well, the main Dagestani won again.
Yeah.
So that's the main news. Who was the one that lost?
Umar Nurmagomedov lost.
Was that Khabib's brother?
His cousin.
Oh, his cousin. He's just got everyone. His whole fucking family. He's like, no, I'm retired, but I coach all of my family to be in the fucking... That's worse, mate. I don't want more of you. I want less of you.
But, his cousin lost to Merab in the bantamweight title fight. It was a pretty close fight. 3-2 Merab, probably decision, obviously. I think... Did I go with that? I can't remember.
Who knows?
But, yeah, it was an interesting fight, but everyone loves to see a Dagestani lose because they very rarely lose. And Khabib... he thinks they're unbeatable, essentially. And
they essentially are, but...
Well, yeah, but this one wasn't. So, it was funny. Khabib was in the cage when they were reading the scorecards, and he was standing next to Dana, like, ready to take the belt and put it on Umar. And then they called Merab the winner, and he just had to walk away like a sad little boy. So, but, yeah, it was nice to see them lose. Islam obviously won very easily. It was meant to be Sarukian. He pulled out the day before the fight. Yeah, so Moicano stepped in on a day's notice, similar to...
Never happened. What's the point? I mean, you just know he's going to lose.
Because they needed a fight for the event,
It's like sending a fucking lamb to the slaughter. It's just... What's the point?
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know.
Put another title defense, honestly.
But there was... Yeah, it was very similar to... what's his name? Wow, I've forgotten his name. The real estate agent, he stepped in on a day's notice when Tony pulled out to fight Khabib back in the day. How have I forgotten his name? Quinta. Ali Quinta.
No, you mean
Quinta.
fight Khabib, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ali Quinta stepped it up on a day's notice to fight Khabib when no, I think it was Tony originally that pulled out, and then it was Max Holloway. And then he stepped up on a day's notice.
Yeah. Well, I do remember the press conference where Conor said, "All you fought is real estate agents, mate." So shut up.
Yeah. And it was funny. I don't know. Have you seen Conor, what he's been up to recently? He was at the bare knuckle press conferences.
He's at the inauguration as well of President Trump.
With Logan and Jake Paul.
In the back, and he's hanging out with their mum. The guy's just fucking... Just retire, bro. I'm sick of you just like wandering around doing random shit. Like, we all know you're high as fuck on drugs. You're not doing anything. You're just chilling and just like hooking up with anything that moves. You're just like, you're being an absolute, like, you're just doing whatever you want. And that's fine. But fucking retire. Don't keep fucking telling Dana, "Oh, I'm coming back, Dana." And then Dana comes out and says, "Oh, Conor's looking like August time. He's looking like he could do it." It's like, stop fucking tickling our balls, mate. Just retire. And
But you can't, he's said he's retired about 50 times. It's like a monthly occurrence pretty much. But
then he just says, "Dana, I'm coming back." It's like...
but it's funny watching him at the stare off. Like, Eddie Alvarez and Jeremy Stevens are fighting in bare knuckle this week, and he's just standing there like he's actually in the face off, like getting in there.
And he came to the press conference and did his line. I'm sorry, I'm late. I just don't give a fuck. Like, you're not fighting. You're not What are you doing?
Yeah. He is a good promoter though. He's good with words, so he gets...
He's a great promoter, but that's because he's just fucked up all the time.
Yeah. So he stays in the zeitgeist of the combat sports world, even when
I think it's what he wants to do. I just come out and just do a full-on press conference saying, not just some random shit on Twitter where you're like, "I'm retired." Just do a full-on press conference. Be truthful. Just say, "Hey, I'm not at a level to be competing for anything, so I'd have no interest in fighting. I just want to be a fucking guy that gets fucked up and promotes. That's what my passion is right now." Just say that. And then everyone will be like, "Okay." And we'll let you do whatever you want. But then that's why people fucking are like upset at him, and just because he just tickles Dana's balls every 6 months and just says, "I'm coming back." And Dana's like, "Yes." And then Dana's has to like say, probably not the best idea for him to come back.
No, I think at the moment they're saying November, which is like, if you're saying November, what's the point? That's 10 months
that's
away.
what I'm saying. November. We're in January.
Yeah.
Training camp is not 8 months long.
Yeah.
You're literally factoring into your mind, okay, he's on the bags, so he has 6 months to get off it, and then he can start doing his training camp. So that's like 9 months or so. November. That's what they're literally thinking.
Yeah, something, it's...
So we'll give him a month to get off the bags, then it's 6 months, then it's 2 months training camp, then he's ready to fight. Like, that's literally how they're presenting it. And everyone knows, but they're just like doing some, "Well, we've actually had a chat. I think November's a good time." It's like, no, you're literally just like doing the math in your head. When is the quickest time we can get him to legally fight?
Yeah. So it's tough scenes for the McGregor fans if they ever want to see him fight again. But honestly, I do think he will fight again just because he's fucked in the head and
I love him. I think he's he's my favorite fighter of all time. But just come out and retire and everything will be cool.
Yeah. But going forward, I think Adesanya is fighting this week.
Is he?
Yeah. In just a fight night main event.
It's a bit weird. I mean, he's a bit... surely he's a bit above that.
Well, he's lost his last 2 fights, so you got to go back somewhere.
Yeah, maybe.
So that's a good fight night. And did you see him and Rob?
No. Oh no, I did.
They basically made up and became friends and trained together.
I did see that. I did see them on a couch and chatting about shit.
Yeah,
I did see that.
Just pretty wholesome.
Yeah,
pretty wholesome to see.
I think it's just in probably Rob's nature to do that. I think, yeah, you just feel bad for Rob because he's just like, I don't know. It must be tough for him because he's like, "You were the reason why I was never champion because I could never beat you." So,
well, he was champion.
Was he? I thought he was just interim.
No, he was champion.
How long was Rob champion for?
Not long.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he was the reason why he was never a dominant champion there. I'll put it that way.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes, but, nice to see. Obviously, Adesanya's still a cringe guy, but, it's good to see them make up and make friends. If he loses this week, I'd say that's probably wraps on his career. It's a pretty make or break fight. He's fighting, I don't know, 5th ranked guy or something, so a middle of the pack sort of middleweight.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's got enough money. He doesn't need to fight. It's just
no, but you want to stay at the top for as long as you can.
If he wins, then you put him definitely back in the frame for a title shot. But it just depends on what happens with Strickland and South African geezer. Yeah,
that's next month in Sydney. Which is weird. I hate how they never have any good cards in Sydney that involve Australians.
Well, they do.
They don't.
Well, like Adesanya's fought here, Rob Whittaker's fought here. Like they do.
Whittaker hasn't fought here in like 10 years, if he ever has.
Really?
Yeah.
Volk has fought here.
No.
Has he? I swear he
fought.
has.
He fought in Perth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's fought in Australia.
Yeah, once.
Yeah, but like it's hard.
Out of like 8 title fights.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I'm pretty sure they would want to get Australians here. I don't think that they're fucking, Australia's coming up. Let's not get the Australians on the card. That'd be really smart. I think it's just like...
But they hold them.
No, but I think it's literally like all the Australian fighters like live in Vegas or like live somewhere in the US and train in the US.
No, they live in Australia.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do.
Not all of them live in Australia.
All the good ones do.
There's no chance.
Volk lives here. Rob lives here.
But then why don't they schedule them to fight then?
That's what I'm saying. Doesn't make sense. They've just announced Jack Della Maddalena versus Leon for London.
Yeah, but where does Jack Maddalena live?
Perth.
Fuck, what are they doing then? I just assumed it was just they train in Vegas. So like, fuck, I don't want to go back.
And Volk has been on the sidelines for ages. Waiting for the Ilya fight, I guess, if they're going to give him the Ilya fight. But they've just booked Diego Lopez versus someone. I think versus Movsar Evloev, maybe? I can't remember. But Diego Lopez was the other guy that was potentially in line for a shot, but they just booked him against someone. So it's interesting things. Dana's also been saying there's some fight that you're never going to see coming this huge. It's going to be the biggest fight of the year that he's got lined up for July or something.
Great. Thanks, Dana.
And he's making it sound like it's someone that's, you wouldn't expect. Like, it's not someone already in the promotion.
It's going to be Pereira at featherweight, probably.
No, like, I think it'll be like Brock Lesnar or something. Or like Nate versus Conor or something.
It's going to be like Roman Reigns.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really weird, but like, he thinks it's going to be massive, but maybe it won't be that big because they're 45 years old.
That Logan Paul versus Conor McGregor or something?
Yeah, like I wouldn't be surprised if it was something along those lines.
That'd be funny. That'd actually be kind of funny. He just Conor's back for like just don't do any training, just fights Logan Paul in the UFC. That'd be kind of that Logan Paul would get absolutely sparked, but it'd be hilarious.
Well, Conor said he wants to fight Jake Logan and KSI. So,
in a boxing ring, he'd probably lose, especially at his sort of physical shape at the moment. But in UFC, they'd fucking kill him. Imagine like, that's like the scariest thing. Imagine if you're like KSI and you're fighting like Conor in a UFC fight. You just see him like just crouch down and just stare at you. You'd be like, fuck, get me out of this fucking place.
Yeah. But the thing is I feel like once you start practicing a combat sport, you just become delusional and you think you're better than you are.
Yeah, but I think even...
Because you've got coaches going, that's a really nice jab you've got in the pad. And then you're like, I'm actually pretty sick.
That's like, I think boxing 100%. But like, if you're locked into a cage and then Conor McGregor just comes out with his music and then just walks and just fucking stares you down, and you've like watched him your whole life just absolutely destroy people, you're kind of like, this is a bit realer than boxing. And you look down at your gloves and they're not padded, and you're like, shit. I'm in fucking deep shit here. Yeah. And you have zero, like, natural, like, you've never done wrestling. You probably do you do it obviously in your training camp, but you're not a natural wrestler or jiu-jitsu or whatever. You're not used to, like, fucking, like, getting close and, like, grabbing and actually getting in a street fight. Like, you're used to, like, a very strict version of fighting. So it's very different, I think. Anyway, that's a bit of a rant about how I'd love to see KSI just get in the ring with fucking... Like, not even KSI. I like KSI, but it's like Logan Paul and Jake Paul getting in a fight with like Conor, and I just think it'd be funny. in the UFC ring, but
it would be funny.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Moving on. Is there? I mean, Australian Open. Have you been keeping up with that?
No.
I
mean, I saw Djokovic beat Alcaraz, and then the next match pulled out. That's about it. Honestly, tennis. It does. I actually kind of like Wimbledon. I think Wimbledon's a cool sort of spectacle. And obviously the tradition of it, and it's just a bit different. And it's obviously the biggest major, but I just couldn't care less about the others.
Wow.
If I'm honest.
Wow.
If I'm brutally honest.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
Really brutal.
Yeah, sorry.
It's I will say Melbourne just do the sporting events a lot better than Sydney by comparison. I mean, just watching the Australian Open on the coverage, you see all the things they've got set up. There's so many activations and food things and bar things, and it's kind of like a festival sort of vibe. I just wish there was things like that in Sydney. There's, with the F1, it's a similar thing with, whatever they've got.
That's why. It's because they have experience hosting these sort of international events, whereas Sydney, it's very like Sydney-based sports that you're doing events for. It's not. You don't really have that experience of a. But
even like a Magic round, for example, in Brisbane, like there's nothing like.
Yeah, that's rugby league. It's not. I think.
Yeah, but
the thing is a bit different. I think obviously with Melbourne they have like rugby league and Magic round. You're tailoring to a domestic audience, and I think you should. They probably should improve it, but it's kind of like it's not really what they do. But in Melbourne, it's like you host F1, you host a tennis, obviously. So you do have a lot of sort of experience in that, doing that year on year, and you have a different fan base. I think with AFL and NRL and cricket, you have sort of a fan base that just likes what they like and does what they do. But when you're getting international fans in who are used to the Americanized version of sort of how many activations there are, how many sort of like tailgating and stuff like that, get English fans over. When you get different sort of countries to come over, you do put up a better show. That's just how it is. If you got guests in your house, you're gonna sort of tidy up a bit.
Well, I don't. But
yeah, you don't. You would got
if you're gonna see me at my best, you can see me at my worst.
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't send Christmas cards to your family, so that's
who sends Christmas cards.
Birthday cards? Nah. Just here's a present, love.
Well, all my family live here, so.
Yeah, I know, but that's just the type of person you are. I mean, it's just a saying. It's not. I'm not talking about you specifically. I'm just saying when guests come into your house, usually tidy up and get some food ready. When it's your mate who comes over, it's kind of like, well, I'm not gonna fucking tidy up, am I? Just kind of that kind of vibe, I think. But
right.
Anyway, that's a bit of insight, bit of knowledge.
That's a nugget, a gold nugget.
There you go, a gold nugget. That's for free.
Not many of those you get for free.
No, I'm special. I'm the special one. Jose Mourinho. Anything else?
I think that's pretty much it for sports.
Cool. Well, yeah, good chat today. Hope you enjoyed. Do you want to send us off with anything?
I would just say, everyone, please be safe. It's a really dangerous world out there. There's lots of things going on.
What are they to be safe of?
Well, there's cars on the road. There's weapons.
Yeah, there are weapons out there.
Someone could put a knife on you at any stage, really. And that's always a risk when you leave the house. So, you've got to contemplate that. You've got to weigh up that whenever you decide to leave the house, is it worth it? Am I putting myself in danger?
Yeah.
The risk versus reward of leaving the house today. What is going to happen? Yeah. It's important.
No, I agree. Yeah,
important things to consider.
It's a bit off topic, but yeah. Be safe. Like Oscar said, I mean, I'll do it at different angles. Sun safe. It's hot out there.
It's very hot. I mean, it's going to be 40 degrees, I think, on Tuesday or Monday or something.
Get your sunscreen on.
Yeah, like me personally, I'd rather burn so I can get tanned and hopefully avoid skin cancer, but I'm willing to take the risk. But
wow,
most people
just try your best. Get pasty. Everyone else get pasty. He'll get tan, so he looks the best. But good advice. Thanks for sending us off with that message. Hope you enjoyed. bit more sports content this week, a bit more NFL. Hopefully we get sort of some Super Bowl previews next week or next time we do a podcast. But yeah, like and subscribe, and see you later. Adios.
Peace out.